Red meat causes cancer. Here's how I try to eat it safely. Two people staring at the same plate of steak. One is lean and skinny like me, trying his best to gain or at least maintain muscle mass. The other person is struggling to keep the weight off, doing everything right, but the scales just won't budge. More red meat helps the both of us. In this video, I'll explain why red meat is helpful, even though it's labeled as cancer-causing. I will also share the one cooking mistake that cancels out the entire benefit of eating red meat. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly what to buy, how to cook it, and how your brain can really benefit from doing this right. Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Chern. I run a clinical practice at Soma Clinic in Singapore, working in women's health. This channel is separate. It's my own journey figuring out how to preserve my brain function and extend my health span. Today's video is inspired by a new study where scientists found the actual sensor in your brain that makes protein satisfying. It's a channel called CAV 3.1 sitting on neurons in your hypothalamus, which is the boss of your brain. When leucine, an amino acid abundant in meat, hits this channel, it tells your brain you're full, which means you will rely less on willpower to stop eating and rely more on simply eating meat or other proteins to keep yourself full. Now let's talk about why this is good news if you're skinny like me, or even better news if you've been struggling to lose weight. First, let's talk about lean and skinny people. For such people, the value isn't in weight loss. It's in managing my incessant hunger and helping me gain or preserve muscle mass. Adequate leucine intake protects lean mass, especially as we age, and that matters even more if you're already lean, because the alternative to protein-driven satiety is usually filling up on the carbs. I'm not eating steak to lose weight. I'm eating it so that I simply stop relying on carbs to manage my hunger. Next, if you're struggling with weight or feel like willpower isn't enough, this is the part you need to know. Call it passive intervention. This is very much connected to something I wrote about on Substack. This passive intervention is what I felt helped Hal Cramner's assisted living homes send some of his patients away, because these assisted living homes were using a carnivore-style diet to help reverse dementia in some people. If you're a woman in your mid to late 40s and dealing with stubborn central fat, this is relevant too, especially if rising stress and cortisol are quietly working against you and putting a lot more fat in there. The big idea here is that eating meat replaces carbs, and somehow by eating more red meat, you're engaging the leucine satiety pathway, and this helps with weight management. Now, as I am talking about steaks and red meat, you might also be asking, what if I just use chicken instead? This is the question I've asked myself. The carnivore world leans hard on unprocessed red meat. Do I actually benefit more from red meat than chicken, which is also a very rich protein source? Here's what I found. Gram for gram, chicken breast and beef have nearly identical leucine content. So, assuming that satiety is the only goal, red meat has no advantage over chicken. The reason people prefer red meat often isn't the science, it's how it tastes, satisfaction, and adherence to a certain habit. People simply stick to red meat more easily than to chicken breast. Both trigger the same brain mechanism, which is the feeling of fullness. Choose whichever keeps you more consistent. As promised, the next thing I'll talk about is how to cook the meat. Here's what I found. It's often what you cook the meat in that makes the difference. If you're eating lean cuts like sirloin steak, the key is not cooking it in butter or oil. This matters most if you have elevated LDL or ApoB. The problem comes from the added saturated fat, not from the lean meat itself. So, take for example steaks. Dry pan or grill, salt and pepper. Don't cook it in butter. That simple. But if you want to go a step further, braising or stewing is actually the better method overall. High heat grilling or pan frying form more AGEs. These are compounds linked to inflammation and brain aging. Whereas slow, wet cooking like braising or stewing forms far less AGEs. So a stew, a braise, or even a slow cooked broth gets you the same protein and the same satiety signal, with less of the damage that comes from charring meat at high heat. One more thing, get your red meat unprocessed. Unprocessed means the cut of the meat itself. nothing done to it beyond cutting. Processed meat means it has been cured, smoked, salted, or had preservatives added to extend shelf life or change the flavor. That's not just bacon and sausages, it's ham, salami, deli meats, beef jerky, corned beef, and yes, even most burger patties. Now, listen to this striking piece of data. Unprocessed red meat has been linked to lower dementia risk, while processed meat has been linked to meaningfully higher risk. Same animal, completely different outcome. Because it's the curing chemicals and the nitrates, not the meat itself, that is doing the damage. So the rule is simple. Buy a plain cut, skip anything cured or smoked, and cook it slow when you can. And that's all for today. Whether you're trying to stay lean or trying to finally lose what won't come off, protein is the trick. Doesn't matter whether it's chicken or beef. Get an unprocessed cut, cook it slow if you can, dry if you're in a hurry. The meat will give your brain the signal it's already wired to listen to. Thank you for listening.